So continuing on with the story of meeting the man of my dreams. So I met this guy. He had been separated for, I think, 2 days. I was at this point a consultant working with an AT&T company after AT&T went through their divestiture in the mid-'80s. And I met this guy, and he was like the perfect person for me. He drank like me. He had been married. He got separated. About 2 days after he got separated, we went out for our drinks after work. And I think a week later we were living together. Yeah, that's kind of how it was back then. So we were living together, and he moved in with me because he was living in a room that wasn't really all that nice, and he had left his wife, and we got together, and really within a week we were living together, and I thought he was my perfect partner. He didn't say anything about me drinking. I didn't say anything about his drinking. We had fun together. We had what we called go-cups. We got in the car. We went places. We went on road trips with vodka gimlets in a pitcher that you could add top on it so that we could take them with us in the car. And on one of these trips, we were going to see his sister in Virginia. We were moving her to Delaware. And so he had been out drinking at lunchtime, and then we had made this pitcher of vodka gimlets, and we're driving down to Virginia. And at one point, we stopped for gas and exited the gas station going the wrong way on Route 95. Yeah. So literally we get on the highway and all the headlights are coming towards us. I don't remember how we got out of it. I just remember seeing the headlights coming and screaming at him, we're going the wrong way. And these were just times where I had to say, how am I still here? How am I still here? I should have died 50,000 times over. Anyway, long story short, we got married. In September of 1986. We met in November of 1984, and in September of 1986 we got married. And moved into a townhouse that was really quite nice. And my claim to fame, I always say, is that we had every brand name top shelf liquor in our liquor cabinet, and I thought I arrived. So if you came to our house when we entertained, if you came to our house and said you wanted such and such, we probably had it. In fact, it was just, it was crazy. Even all kinds of after dinner drinks, Sambuca, Grand Marnier, all those kinds of crazy after dinner drinks that nobody really even drinks anymore. But we had them. And I was almost 30 years old when we got married. I turned 30 the next month, and my biological clock is starting to tick, but I was really leery about becoming pregnant, because what would that mean? It would mean I couldn't drink. And lo and behold, I did become pregnant in I guess the fall of 1987, and I did not drink while I was pregnant. I always say my maternal instinct was stronger than my alcoholism, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm not going to say I didn't have an occasional wine spritzer, but I really didn't drink. And the following June, I gave birth to an almost 9-pound baby boy named Matthew, and 3 hours after he was delivered, my best friend back from my health insurance job days, my matron of honor when I got married, came to visit me in the hospital with a 6-pack of beer and a bottle of champagne, and I was right back to the races. And I was on some pretty heavy-duty drugs because I had had a C-section and my son weighed almost 9 pounds. So I pretty much was right back to the races. And I just remember having this baby and thinking, oh God, now I got to feed him. Oh God, now I have to do this. Oh God, now I have to do that. And he was colicky. And there were days I just really wanted to throw him out the window. For anybody who's ever had a colicky baby, you know what I'm talking about. And I would pretty much make it through the day okay, and around 5 o'clock I would start having some cocktails. I would usually start with something like a wine spritzer or a beer or whatever. That wasn't really drinking. Wasn't drinking until I made my little pitcher of Manhattans, which are an all liquor drink that my parents used to drink. And so I would say I was weaned on Manhattans. I would then make a pitcher of Manhattans, and I'd say, I'm just going to make one pitcher. Well, the one pitcher became 2, then I went back to the wine, or I went back to the beer, because I wasn't really drinking. And literally, I would be a blackout drinker every night. And it was okay, because I was good up until the point when I put my son to bed. And when I put my son to bed, he really went right to sleep, and there was never a peep out of him, and he was very good. And my ex-husband at this point, he became an ex eventually. My ex-husband had left his job and was working in a printing business with his cousin in a town at the Jersey Shore, about 70 miles from our house. And there were nights he wasn't getting home till 4 o'clock in the morning. So I was alone with this baby. He was my drinking buddy. I was home alone with this baby. And I would get telephonitis, and I'd call my grandmother, or I'd call my friends, or I'd call this one or that one. And, at the end of the month, I'd have to scrutinize the telephone bill back in the days when we got one, to see who was it that I had talked to, because I didn't remember. If it was something important, I wrote it down, because I wanted to remember who I had talked to. And he would get home at 4 o'clock in the morning, because he was heavily into coke and drinking. And the marriage was starting to suffer because of the substance abuse. I was doing my best to take care of this little boy, and he really was fine. It just would have been a pretty bad situation had anything ever happened in the middle of the night where he would have needed help, because I wouldn't have been able to, let's say, get him to a hospital or get him to an emergency room or whatever if something happened to him where he needed care, because I wasn't capable at that point, because I had blacked out and was passed out and in bed. And one night, in February of 1989, when he was about 7 months old, I was home alone with him, and I was lonely. I was really lonely at that point in my life. And I had been drinking, and I went up to his room, and I tried to wake him up, because I wanted some company, and I dropped him. And when I dropped him, he didn't get hurt, but I can remember crying out, "Oh God, you have to help me now." Because as long as I thought that my drinking was really only hurting me, it didn't matter. But once it was hurting, my little baby who had no choice coming into this world, to this mother who was drunk, I realized then that I had to do something. I had to address the problem. And the next day, I went to my first support group meeting, and that was the beginning of my new life. That was the beginning of my second chance at life. It was the beginning of my second life. And continue shortly.